Lake Orion, Michigan, an area in the northern outskirts of Metro Detroit that is getting more and more popular by the second. So do yourself a favor and stick around to find out why that is, pros and cons of living in Lake Orion, as well as some things you must know if you call this southeast Michigan suburb your new home. Before I hop into the nitty gritty, I wanted to talk about the legend of the dragon and some history about Lake Orion as it's shaped how the community is today. For those of you that don't know, Lake Orion is filled with signage and art with a dragon on it. And of course, schools have it plastered everywhere as their mascot. When I first passed through, I thought, what in the dragon tales is going on here? But the reality is, it's in relation to the area's history. It's said back in 1894 there was a dragon. It was 80 feet long and green with black spots. There were two Lake Orion women fishing in a dock when they saw this creature, and from then on, people have come forward saying they've seen it too. It caused a panic, but it's believed this dragon was created by a group of boys who then placed it in the water as a prank to the townspeople. Whatever the true story is, that's where the Lake Orion dragon was derived from. In the mid-1800s to the late 1900s, Lake Orion was served by trains on the Michigan Central Railroad as well as the Detroit United Railway system. These train systems then served as a gateway for being a resort and amusement destination in the early 20th century, where a park was established right on the shore of Lake Orion, which is now known as Greens Park, which was once home to arcades, carousels, dancing halls, food and drink stands, and even a roller coaster. Unfortunately, this hotspot didn't make it past the Great Depression and closed in 1955, where it was sold to a developer who built several homes along the shore in the 1960s, which you will see standing today. With all that being mentioned, it transitions nicely into pro number one, and that's the location. This pro also plays a role in the cons, which I'll mention later. Lake Orion is a village that's located in northern Oakland County that's 1.32 square miles in size, 0.53 of those square miles being water, with a population of around 3,000 people. Orion Township, on the other hand, is interchangeably called Lake Orion as it surrounds the village, being 35.9 square miles in size with a population of around 40,000 people. The cool part about Lake Orion is it's more so in the outskirts of Metro Detroit, like I mentioned, and it feels like a breath of fresh air to get away from the hustle and bustle of the central communities in southeast Michigan. That's something I noticed immediately after spending more time in the community. Highway 24 or M24 also runs right through the area for convenient north and south travel, and it's also near Auburn Hills to take you about 9 minutes away, sorry I'm a Michigander, I mean 6.2 miles away from the on-ramp to I-75 to take you all over the region or continue on towards M59. So in a commuting sense, it's not as bad as you would think for having the reputation of being an outskirts community. I couldn't talk about Lake Orion without pro number two, and that's the small town community. And not only is it the community's rich history that has made it so close-knit, it is truly that small town with a big heart. Highway 24, or Lapeer Road and Park Boulevard as we know it as, has a good chunk of offerings, but if you veer off to the right heading north, you're immersed by the small town immediately. I wouldn't say you'd miss it sneezing once, but maybe twice, but something that ties this community together better than many areas across Metro Detroit is all the mom and pop shops and restaurants that I'll touch on more in the next pro. In Lake Orion, local businesses aren't just supported, they're cherished. There is pride in sustaining local entrepreneurs, which in turn cultivates this thriving local economy. Shopping local there it's less of a choice and more of a community-wide mission, showcasing a loyalty to the local businesses that's both heartwarming and economically beneficial. Another aspect that ties this small town community together is the education. Schools in Lake Orion are the heart of the community, places where young minds are not only educated but inspired too. It's another point of pride with highly rated schools that emphasize not only academic excellence but also community involvement, and personal development too. The schools are well supported by parents and community members, creating a collaborative environment that benefits the students. I'll be sure to link some Lake Orion schooling information in the description too. According to niche.com rankings, Lake Orion is rated number 38 out of 334 suburbs with the best public schools in Michigan, and number 42 out of 617 places with the best public schools in Michigan. Lake Orion's community thrives because of its ability to blend traditional with quirky, the individual with the collective, and the past with the present. Moving over to pro number 3, that's things to do in restaurants. First off, let's talk about the lake. Lake Orion isn't just a body of water, it's really the town's celebrity, complete with its own fan club, really. Residents don't just live here, they're in a committed relationship with nature, boating, fishing, and swimming, and that's just a Tuesday. And the hiking trails, they're not just paths, they're nature's runways where the local wildlife just strut their stuff. And then there's also attending the Dragon on the Lake Festival. The annual festival is a highlight of Lake Orion's social calendar. It features a dragon boat race, live music, art vendors, food stalls, and activities for kids. It's a fantastic way to dive into the local culture and meet the residents. Then there's also Hike the Pollyant Trail. Stretching through the heart of Lake Orion, this multi-use trail it's really ideal for hiking, biking, or even horseback riding. It's really a great way to experience the natural beauty of the area and enjoy some of that fresh air, of course. Then there's visiting Canterbury Village. This is just this unique shopping and entertainment destination that kind of offers a glimpse into this era with this cool architecture and small shops. And then throughout the year, Canterbury Village hosts various events, including outdoor markets, holiday celebrations, and food festivals. Then you could play golf at Indianwood Golf and Country Club. For the golf enthusiast, Lake Orion offers the historic Indianwood Golf and Country Club, which has hosted several major championships. It's a very, very nice course, and it's a treat for players of all skill levels. Then there's spending a day at the Orion Oaks Park. This park offers over 900 acres of natural beauty with a dog park, fishing lakes, picnic areas, and miles and miles and miles of trails. You can also participate in community sports and recreation programs. Lake Orion's community is active and very sports-minded, offering leagues and recreational programs for all ages, including soccer, baseball, basketball, and so much more. There's also the ability to join the Lake Orion Boat Club. For those of you with that nautical side, becoming a part of the Lake Orion Boat Club is a cool way to fulfill your need for that lake life. Lake Orion's downtown area is lined with boutique shops, cafes, and restaurants that offer a variety of dining options. From casual eateries to upscale dining, there's something for everyone, honestly. As far as restaurants, driving through town, you have places like the Orion Boathouse, which is right on Lake Orion, Oat Soda Lake Orion, a popular full-service bar and restaurant. You have Old Detroit Bar and Grill, which is so successful the owner opened 9 other places throughout Southeast Michigan. Then there's Opa Food and Spirits with Greek, American dishes and karaoke. Then there's Real on Main Southwest Cantina, and then also Sagebrush Cantina, which has the heartiest Mexican cuisines. There's Bitter Tom's Distillery, Johnny Black's Lake House, Fork and Pint Lake Orion, Wine Social for a cool social scene, and my favorite, Valentino's, an Italian restaurant that puts several Italian places to shame, I'm sorry, and that's the cold hard fact, since I am a fettuccine alfredo extraordinaire, or my palate is anything but diversified, so I've just had that at too many restaurants. Anyway, it's good, so go try it. I'll link some information for things to do and events in the description for those of you that give a hoot. Before I transition to the cons, I want to chat about pro number 4, and that's home prices. I saved this one for last because I believe this one's going to be a little short-lived based on how popular the community has gotten over the years, as well as how unaffordable the more commonly known communities have become. Don't get me wrong, home prices are still elevated here, especially around the lake, but your dollar still stretches much further than other communities. Take a look at this graph provided by the Multiple Listing Service, which shows the average sale price over the course of 3 years The blue line being for the village of Lake Orion, and the green line being for Orion Township. The village had an average sale price of over $423,000, which was a 23.7% increase year over year, and the township comes in at just over $389,000, which was a 4.3% decrease over the year. As of right now, there are 35 homes on the market total in these two areas, ranging from a $150,000 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, 882 square foot condo with a 1-car garage built in 1984 with lake privileges to Jason Voorhees Lake, which is a nice touch, while having a $400 a month HOA fee, to this $1.19 million home on Lake Orion that was completely remodeled last year with 249 feet of lake frontage, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, 3,862 total square feet with a 2.5 car garage situated on just under half an acre and built in 1979. So it's safe to say there's a variety for any home buyer in their journey, for sure. Moving over to the not so good things about Lake Orion, kicking off with number 1, its location as well. People seem to have a love-hate relationship with this area, and I didn't want to be biased, so I give you this perspective too. This was one of the complaints I got from current, past, and potential home buyers looking in the area. You're either someone who enjoys being in the outskirts of Metro Detroit, getting a little more space from neighbors, and don't mind a longer commute to Metro Detroit's offerings, or you're someone who prefers to be in the middle of it all, which isn't the case for Lake Orion geographically, but it's not like it's so off the beaten path that an on-ramp to an expressway is a hike to get to. I get if you're someone in the far corners of the township, but even then you're 10 miles or less from an on-ramp. It would really just depend what community you'd want to be close to. If it's Brighton and Howell, I get it, that's a little far. If it's Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills, and some of the other Woodward Corridor communities, then you're talking 20 to 25 miles, which is 30 minutes before factoring in traffic. All a preference here, of course. The second con might surprise you based on my last point if you're not familiar with the area, but it's a rising complaint in the community, and it's the traffic. Aside from the new construction communities filling gaps in the area, such as Mosseri's new massive development called Mystic Cove coming right on the corner of M24 and Heights Road, which it's cool to hear the community is growing, but it won't just hurt the aesthetic of the lake driving downtown, it will also add a lot more traffic too as well. And then there's the northern cities and townships utilizing Highway 24 to get from point A to B. The community is growing, and this is another one of those towns where the infrastructure isn't perfect for all the growth that's happening. But this isn't news, and that's why a roundabout was put in last year and another roundabout coming to the west side of the township too. But those are by no means a cure-all for the traffic. Taking a look at this traffic map, you can see where the congestion is heaviest with emphasis on the darker red areas. Again, this is the main vein in, out, and through Lake Orion, so you can see how that would be annoying. Moving on over to con number 3, this point is so wildly overlooked, and that's Lake Orion property taxes. As you might be able to gather from watching my videos over the years, Lake Orion is a village, and villages tend to have a separate property tax. And the village of Lake Orion's is during the summer and includes general operating expenses and village police. Just to put this into perspective a little bit and how it differs in price, I'll compare some of the nearby and well-known community millage rates, which in this situation is the total tax rate, which includes the millage rates for the public schools, Orion Township, and Oakland County, and it's equivalent to 1/1000th of a dollar, so the lower the better. For a primary residence in the village of Lake Orion based on 2022 data, since 2023 data will come out in August 2024, is a millage rate of 44.776. Surrounding communities like Rochester is 32.8118, Rochester Hills is 30.1866, Auburn Hills is 33.0328, the village of Oxford is similar at 43.096, and Clarkston sits at 38.866. This difference in millage rates can make a significant difference on your tax bill. For example, say we take Lake Orion's millage rate of 44.776 and do some math to see an estimate of your tax obligation. Again, my estimates are a high estimate. So looking at a $400,000 home, let's take 50% of it at $200,000 and multiply it by 44.776 and divide that by 1,000 and get a total of $8,955.20. If we take Rochester Hills, 30.1866 millage rate, and do the same, multiplying it by 200K and dividing it by 1,000, we get $6,037.32, which is almost a difference of $3,000 a year, which is a ton for a lot of people. You might be wondering why in the HE double hockey sticks anyone would live in the village, and that's because you're either on the waterfront of Lake Orion or you just like being that close to town. The cheat code to living here and not paying so much in taxes is to live just outside the village in Orion Township, which has a millage rate of 35.5407, which is almost 10 mils in savings. I'm not throwing shade at the village of Lake Orion. All villages have high millage rates. I'm just giving you something to think about to help you make the most well-informed decision possible. The last con I want to touch on, coming in at number 4, is not having an abundance of amenities. This isn't a con I agree too much with, but of course I could be a little biased, but it is a common complaint. The thought is, what was once a resort community is now what you consider a bedroom community, where you live here but work somewhere else, which is common for areas throughout Metro Detroit anyway. People have said this community is average at best with their offerings, and some have even gone as far to say is if General Motors plant closed down, which it won't since they announced a $6.5 billion investment for the GM Orion and GM Delta Township assembly plant to support the new electric vehicle production in 2022, then Lake Orion would be in trouble. But that's one perspective out of several. For those of you watching as an outsider, as someone who lives or lived in Lake Orion, Michigan, what are your thoughts? I also wanted to remind you about the resources in the description from things to do, events, public transportation, schools, and so much more. Thanks as always for watching. If you're ever looking to buy, sell, or invest in the wonderful state of Michigan, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd be happy to be your go-to resource. Until next time.